As a kid, I used to play pretend a lot. I used to think that I can just become anyone I thought I put my mind into. I used to jump from tables thinking I could fly like Superman. That didn't end well. And this one time where I stopped brushing my teeth so I can be like the garlic from Plants vs. Zombies. True story, by the way. I didn't brush my teeth for like a whole week. But that is all in the past, and as much as I want to become whoever I put my mind into, I know I have my limits. I'm not Superman. I can never be the garlic from Plants vs. Zombies. So, in the end, I made peace with my inabilities and settled with who I can truly become. Me. But sadly, not everybody got off pretend when they grew up. Some people never settle with who they are and want to be perceived as someone they aren't. And over the coming years, they've been springing up more and more, especially on the internet. You know who I'm talking about, and that is... Larpers, adjective, are a group of people that partake in LARPing, noun, which in modern internet, circa 2 weeks ago, is interpreted as posing as a fan of a media or just typically trying to fit into something you're not. Back in the days, it used to mean live-action roleplay, which honestly isn't much derived from the modern definition. Whilst the term LARPing is a fairly new term on the internet, the action of LARPing is known for as long as humans have ever existed. For example, back in 1921, there was a man called Ferdinand Damara, not related to N.B. Damara, who was an American con man who was a monk that then LARPed or posed to be a soldier, naval officer, college professor, college student, and then professor again, then a surgeon in the Canadian Navy, and somehow he didn't die behind bars. Talk about elite levels of LARPing. For a more modern example, in 2026 there are many things people LARP about. Things like video games, being a fan of a show they don't even watch, or even trying to fit into a group of loners. But one example or trend that I haven't seen much noise from, thankfully, is a trend where people would fake having mental disorders for clicks on TikTok. Back in 2020, when COVID was around, there were a rush of TikToks on the internet that had people, mostly teenagers, faking mental disorders for internet views and likes. Most specifically, Tourette's and DID, or dissociative identity disorder. One of the videos that went extremely viral back in the days is this video of a girl who allegedly had Tourette's trying to package mail, which is certainly a watch.
Send me to Canada!
To most people who don't really have much of a relationship with Tourette's may perceive this video as being real and how people with Tourette's act like. Likewise me, had I not seen the Sunny V2 video first. And for reference, this is Dabs, someone you might know from his ridiculous self-torture, who also happens to have Tourette's, reacting to this.
Also, another thing is, if this were happening to me and like I were having such severe tics while trying to package something, I would not be happy like she is. I would be pissed the fuck off.
It comes without saying that faking illnesses, mental or physical, is an absolutely disrespectful and genuinely disgusting act to do. These are real things that people are going through, and to take that, fake it, and put it on a mask solely for social pity and credit is beyond heinous. This stands especially for DID, which teenagers liked so much to fake back in the days, and the real thing is usually caused by trauma and abuse in childhood. I cannot imagine the disrespect people who actually have DID would feel if they saw teenagers take their scars and put them on as if they were a personality trait and use it for clicks. Genuinely disgusting. Thankfully, it's been half a decade since then, and most teenagers, at least that I know of, are not faking mental disorders for attention anymore. Nowadays, they're LARPing about something different, and thankfully not worse for once. And that is... Back in February 2026, Capcom would release a new mainline entry for Resident Evil, that is Resident Evil Requiem, or 9. While the game came out to positive reviews all around, so much so that people are saying that it rivals the original Resident Evil 4, it also sparked a little internet debate or drama, if you may call it, and that Resident Evil fans don't play their game. I didn't think much of it, but over the coming months I did not expect how true that statement was. What bewilders me about Larpers is not that they tried to fake being one of something, but it's their complete stubbornness and outward refusal of interacting with the things they're trying to pose as a fan of. It is mind-boggling seeing people come up with every excuse there is just not play the fucking game. Resident Evil can cost as much as a bottle of water in a third world country and be able to run on one of those fake Barbie phones, and somehow Larpers can still pull out an excuse like they don't have time, like they won't spend that time either scrolling through TikTok or watching a playthrough of the fucking game. It's so infuriating. I've literally seen a guy say video games are boring and a waste of time, but at the same time they're defending themselves as if they've played Resident Evil. If you think games are boring, then why the fuck are you trying to pose as one? What do people gain from this? Genuinely. Outside of Resident Evil, I've also seen a lot of so-called gamers that care more about metrics and what message the game is trying to send to people, more than what and how the game actually is. If you've seen one of these posts or videos saying that Battlefield is dead, it only has 30k concurrent players, or how Resident Evil Requiem is an absolute failure because its player base dropped 90% after the first 3 weeks. It's so obvious that these people don't play games at all because they never comment on how the game is or which part of the game is bad or good and how that affects the overall final product. The only time they actually comment about something in the game is when it's about realism or how they allow dudes to fuck in that game. And it's sad seeing some of these posts because they usually go viral when it's really not the thing that matters the most. Movies like The Fall Guy or games like Lost Judgment that didn't really do spectacularly in sales don't diminish the art that they are. They're both really enjoyable medias and great movies and games respectively. But these type of content make people who are unaware of that think that the movie or the game is bad and therefore stray away from it. Worse is when people like Cropecat mislead people into thinking they're bad by altering things from the game. And in the age where rage bait and short form content is the norm, people usually eat that shit up because a comprehensive review is too long when it's probably just 5 minutes long. They'll most likely scoop up whatever Cropecat or IGN says about the new game, even if it's misleading or plain nonsensical. All of this leads me to one question. Why do people do this? In my opinion, it's because people are too foreign cool these days. Remember the story of Ferdinand Damara I told in the beginning? He once sold his story to a magazine, and he said that the reason for him impersonating so many people and professions is because he just wanted a place to belong. He wanted to feel like he was important to someone, to fit in. In fact, after he was caught in his act, he was forced to go back to his life. He was depressed and tried to go back into being an imposter, until he ended up being a priest before he passed away, which he claimed is finally his true calling and was happy with it. That's why the trend that happened in COVID happened. People were isolated and they wanted to feel something. Ever since then, people grew a sense of yearning for community and care that they search for it everywhere, even if it's a space they don't want to be in. Moral of the story is, be you. Don't try too hard to appeal to people, especially if it means not being yourself to appeal to them. Because as time goes on and the mask starts to slip, they'll realize you're not who you make out to be, and when that happens, they'll start to distance themselves from you, and you'll be left alone, once again confronting who you really are. At the end of the day, anyone can find love, community, relationships. Even Hitler found it. So don't beat yourself up too much, and just be yourself. Maybe don't be Hitler, but you know what I mean.
Planet Viltrum. I don't give a shit about Viltrum.
You were given orders. You were given time. You were given more leeway than most, and yet I find this planet unprepared for the arrival of our Viltrum.
I don't give a shit about Viltrum.